Obama, Hillary, and their surrogates in law enforcement and in the intelligence agencies. This is very, very serious. This is exactly why the nest of left-wing Democrat donors who were controlling the so-called Mueller investigation didn't look at any of it because they didn't want to. Yes?
Mueller could have used you sitting next to him.
What's your question?
Mr. Mueller could have used you yesterday sitting next to him instead of his former chief of staff because you've got the answers. Wasn't it frustrating to you when you were watching that the congresspeople would ask seemingly reasonable questions and he'd go, you know what, read the report. Or, yeah, I'm not going to talk about that.
Can you repeat the question?
Well, the reason, look, I've seen people with onset dementia. I'm not going to mock this man. He's obviously shouldn't have been there. He should never have headed this investigation. I'm not making any allegations. I'm not trying to be provocative. But the idea that Rod Rosenstein appointed this man to head this office is an outrage, and he's the one who ought to be questioned about that. That's number one. Number two, everybody around Mueller knew he was incapable of doing what he did. I've always said it was his number two hatchet man, Weissman. Weissman brings in a nest of leftists to investigate the President of the United States. That's why this long list, I won't bother you with it, of areas that should have been investigated by any prosecutor who's not Helen Keller, would have seen this stuff, heard this stuff, done something about this. He did nothing. Now we have an attorney general who's a stand-up guy who's going to look into it. There's a bigger issue here that I want the American people to understand. There was an effort by the Obama administration and the Clinton campaign and continuing with the Democrat Party to destroy your electoral system. Nearly 63 million people voted for Donald Trump, despite what the FBI tried to do to him, despite what a British spy tried to do to him, despite what a FISA court tried to do to him, despite what Obama and Hillary and the DNC tried to do to him. He won. Now they're trying to take him out. They're still at it. So they move from the political and they move into the criminal. They failed again. Yesterday they were further exposed. People are not seeing the big picture here. This is a scandal of monumental proportions. We can dig into every issue. Why wasn't this looked at? Why wasn't that looked at? Pull it all together. There are puzzle pieces here.
Mark, we haven't confirmed anything about his health. There hasn't been anything released about that.
I agree, but he made it quite obvious.
Well, yeah, he was not on his game yesterday, and everyone has said it was really sad to watch. But, you know, we just need to pray for him, I guess, and pray for his family. But in other news, let's talk about the fact that he didn't know what Fusion GPS was. Do you think that that's because he wasn't running this investigation, or do you think, what do you think's going on there?
I think you had a bunch of Democrat activists dressed up as lawyers and prosecutors who hired each other, who supported each other. They went after the president's team. They never went after anybody associated with this scandal in a significant way. That's why the first half of the scandal they didn't even look at. How do you go after Paul Manafort's taxes and not look at any aspect of the Russia collusion with respect to the Hillary Clinton campaign? This FISA court needs to be looked at, too. These FISA judges are federal district judges. They're appointed by the Chief Justice of the United States. I'm well familiar with this as a former Department of Justice official. How in the world can these FISA judges not call back the FBI and have an evidentiary hearing, really a contempt hearing, to find out why the hell they were lied to? Not a single one of these judges, and this was extended 3 times. He had one FISA extended 3 times. Not a single one of these judges has called back Comey or anybody else to clean up this mess. Why is that?
Do you think part of it could be the fact that just historically these FISA judges have been rubber stamps for whatever the government puts in front of them?
Isn't it like 99% of it?
Well, that's a great point, because it might expose them for the joke that they are. I say abolish the FISA courts unless we fix this. Abolish the FISA courts unless serious members of Congress figure out how this went so wrong. We cannot have understand how this works. There is no counterparty in these rooms. They're held in secret rooms. I know where these rooms are. The FBI puts its arguments together. It's signed off. It's the judge that has to protect the individual citizen. Well, they didn't protect Carter Page because he was the backdoor to the Trump campaign. We need to get to the bottom of that, too, or abolish the damn system and replace it with something else.
Mark, I want to get to the role of President Obama. No, it's underplayed is the amount of mutual dislike that President Obama has for President Trump, dating back to that Washington Correspondents' Dinner. All his mocking is that you'll never be president. Then he becomes president. We know about a disingenuous thought when he came out and said, I found out about Hillary Clinton's private email on press reports. But we found out they were actually interacting with each other on those own personal emails. What makes you think that President Obama knew all about the investigation into Donald Trump?
Well, let's put it the other way. How could he not? And if he didn't know about all that was going on at the Department of Justice, the FBI, his intelligence agencies, the unmasking of American citizens, then where the hell was he? He's the President of the United States. I can't believe Valerie Jarrett didn't know about these things. She had her fingers everywhere. I can't believe Comey didn't tip off the President of the United States. They were buddies. Or Loretta Lynch didn't tip off the President of the United States.
Wow.
Well, there you go.
I always hang on his every word, but this time he left us hanging. So that was Mark Levin. Yeah, the satellite just went down. But pick up on freedom of the press. You understand where Mark's point of view is. He never comes on any of these, the smallest or biggest appearance without notes. He is so into it. If you see him, he has notes and a where to go because he takes it from the legal perspective and understands broadcasting, too.
All right.
And communication. So Mark Levin, we'll see you Sunday on Life, Liberty, and Levin. If not, listen to your radio show today.
And there is Robert Mueller yesterday before his testimony before one of the committees. Certainly nobody has mentioned anything about his health. However, his testimony yesterday has a lot of people scratching their heads, wondering why he was not better prepared or why he was not more forthcoming in some of the answers.
Listen, he should have sat in on some of the meetings. Nobody that was being interviewed as a witness said he was there. So at the very